Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So for you guys today, we are going to be comparing the KKW X Allison palette to the KKW Beauty Classic 2 palette. Now, in the last video I did about this, I said that the formula is different, and then basically in today's it's different compared to like her bigger palettes. And in today, I kind of wanted to test that theory, see could we create a similar look, so that like if you have this palette, do you really need to purchase this one? But yeah, that's going to be today's video. If you guys like this idea, if you guys like me, if you like my channel, please do not forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. That is Connie in the background. Say hello. But yeah, so if you guys like these ideas, please do not forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up, and I will see you all. I'm doing my outro. I need to be doing my intro. I'm sorry, I'm stupid tired right now. But yeah, so with that being said, actually, no. Okay, I want to tell you guys something. So today I'm wearing the this her face palette. It's the Ladera one. I think if she came out with these tones in deeper colors, I think this would be bomb. This is like really nice. It's really pigmented. I mean, the highlighter is kind of two of them stacked on top of each other, but most of it is this one. I used a little bit of my Project Pan one in there as well, just to give it like a more of a effect. But anyway, you guys, so if you guys like this video, please do not forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And with that being said, let's get started. Sorry for the very long intro. Alright, so this is the KKW X Allison palette. And then this one is the KKW blend. Sorry, I was actually just thinking that I don't look half bad. I have OCD, I swear. Or not OCD, ADHD. Something like that. And then this is the Classics 2 palette. I'm not like a big believer in the fact that Kim recycles her old shades, but these look exceedingly similar. So I figured I'm going to go through and swatch the ones that I think look the most alike, and I'll tell you which one is from this palette and which one is from this palette. Please keep in mind, I cannot read the shade names on the back of this, and she doesn't put shade names on the front. So if you guys want to, here's the shade names on the back. Can you see that? I will tell you like the location of the pan that I'm taking from, and then here are the shade names for KKW Allison. So yes. Alright. So the two white shades in the palette, so they're both the first ones on the first row all the way over to the left. They look pretty similar to each other. Question. Did that pause it? No. Alright, sorry about that. So I have the two shades right here. This one is Allison. This one is the Classic 2. So let me zoom it in a little bit. This is Allison. This is Classic 2. This shade you can't see almost. I can see it in real life, so I guess those two aren't that similar at all. But they look really similar in the pan. Like, they're both very pale shades. So there's that one. Okay, that makes me think this one and this one are going to be the same. Well, alright, so this is the second row on the, or the second shade on the second row from the Allison palette. This is the first shade on the second row from the classic palette. Those ones look almost identical. The one from Classic 2 is just a little bit darker. I need a white. Okay. So I think this one looks really similar. This one looks really similar. Alright, so Allison Classic 2. The Allison one looks a little bit darker. So this is the third color on the top row of the Allison palette. That one's kind of patchy. And then this one is the third color on the top row from the Classic 2 palette as well. Yeah, see? They look pretty similar. Huh. What I'm wondering is, did she just, like, are these all the shades that were supposed to be, like, were these... So I have a conspiracy theory for this. I think that these are the shades that were some of the options for the Classic 2 palette, and they just put them in the Allison palette instead. That's my conspiracy theory. And then this one look pretty similar. So again, this one's a little bit darker. Allison, this one is Classic 2. This one is the bottom row, third shade over from the Allison palette. That swatched like shit. And then this is the Classic 2 palette. That also didn't swatch great, but it swatched better. Those are different. Those are different colors. And then the shimmer shades actually don't look that similar, I think. Let me see. Yeah, the shimmer shades don't look all that similar. So, like I said in the video where I reviewed the Allison palette, I think if you have the Classic 2 palette, don't buy the Allison one if you guys were looking at them. But I figured I would do them on the eyes real quick and see, you know, with you guys watching, and then see how they perform that way. Alright, let's do that. Alright, so I zoomed you guys, and I look really tan today because the amount of bronzer I put on. Holy crap. I zoomed you guys in. I have the Alter Ego Primer on my eyes. It's one of my favorites. But I know from experience that Kim's eyeshadows blend better over a set base. So I'm just going to take, these the same brush. I think these are the same brush. Yeah. I'm going to take two of the same brush. I'm going to try and use like the same brushes for each. Do you guys get what I mean? Like, if I use like this is a E127 from Shop Miss A. If I use this in the Allison palette, I'm going to try and find like the exact same brush in my collection of brushes to be able to say like I use the same brushes and everything. But I'm just going to take this fluffy brush and go in with the lightest shade in the palette, which is this one right here. And I'm just going to dust that all over my eye, just to lightly set it, because I don't know if I was even praying. Just to like lightly set it because they do blend better over a set base, in my opinion. Alright. And then for the Classic 2, I'm going in with this shade right here and doing the same thing. And these brushes are clean. bad. I just contaminated it. Do a light set. Alright, and then from the Allison palette, the color I want to do next is this one right here. And I want to blend that in the crease. So I'm going to use that same brush I just used to set the base down, but now I want to put it in the crease. I look like a corpse with this chapstick on. Just I'm going to go back and build that color. It is literally, I can barely see that in person. So it is a very light shade. It is literally the color of my skin. I mean, I think you guys can see it a little bit, but not a lot. So to mirror that color, I'm going to go in with this shade from the Classic 2 palette. And just blend that out. I think off the bat, this eye is a little bit more pigmented. It's not a lot more pigmented, but they're both pretty fleshy toned shades. But I definitely think the Classic 2 one is more pigmented. It's also just a little bit easier to blend. Yeah. I think that's more pigmented. Alright, so then to kind of... Hold on, let me find a brush. Alright, so I have two of the Morphe M504 brushes. These are just very tiny little blending brushes. I'm going to use these the same way I use my larger, fluffier brushes. And the color I'm going to go in with from the Allison palette is this one right here. And I'm just going to tuck that in to the crease. So literally in the crease, not above my crease, in it. To be able to get some depth. Shade is patchy. I'm sorry if you guys can hear the gunshots. I mean, that worked though. It added depth. Okay. One more time. Okay, I'm gonna go in with this brush again and kind of just blend that out because it's not wanting to blend out with that brush. Stupid fly. Alright, I think that's better. I like that. Alright, so there's that. You guys are not zoomed in enough. Is that better? I think that's better. Alright, and then to match that shade, I'm taking the clean M504 brush, I think I said. And let us go in with this shade from the, which ones did I say look similar? I can't even remember from 5 minutes ago. Alright. We're going to use this shade from the classic palette right here. It is a different tone. Swatching it out on my hand and then looking at it in the light, I can see it is a different tone. This one is more of a gray. This one is more of like a, where'd it go? Like a very cool toned brown, but it is definitely brown, whereas that one is gray. However, this shade is also more pigmented and easier to blend, in my opinion. I think I didn't have to go in as many times. It's going on much more smoothly, and it's not as patchy as what this shade was. Like, looking in the mirror here, this one I had to go in and blend it out with a bigger blush to get it to blend. This one, I don't think I'm going to have to. Alright, so there's that. And then the last step I want to do, I just want to keep this like a short and sweet type of video. Well, not really short, but like a simpler video, because of the fact I'm not a pro makeup artist and I don't want to be telling people, well, I guess I am telling people, but you guys get what I mean. I hope you get what I mean. Do you guys get what I mean? Like, I just want to keep it a little bit shorter than what I normally do. Alright, and then I have two E130s from Shop Miss A that I will be using for the last part. Or one of the last parts, anyway. So, the last color I'm going to use for the crease, or the outer, the matte shade, is this last dark color from the Allison palette. And this is just like a very small, slightly denser blending brush. And I'm just gonna take that and tap it on the outer corner and then start kind of blending it in to the crease. Just a little bit on my eye. Okay, and I just left that on like the very outer corner. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And to kind of like match this color from this palette, I'm going to go in with this shade right here. It is the third one on the bottom row from the classic palette. So there is that. This is what both of the eyes look like as of right now. I think on the eyes, the colors look very similar. I don't think they look bad. So the last thing I want to do is I'm going to take the M504 brushes again, and I'm going to go in. Actually, I'm going to wait to do that part. Hold on, what am I doing? Okay, so I'm just going to use my finger for this next part, which is the shimmery part. And I want to take this shade from the Allison palette. And like I said earlier, the shimmer shades look nothing like each other. This one is like a light silvery color. And I'm just going to place that where I haven't put any of the matte shadows. Well, it's kind of going to cover up the color I did in the crease, but oh well. So there's that. And then the one I think is like the closest to it in color, not tone, because it's closer in like, I don't know how to explain it. This one is like a light silvery color. The one I'm going to use from the palette, the Classic 2 palette, is this one, and it's more like a gunmetal gray silver. But it's like, can't do that. It's in the same wheelhouse, if that makes sense. Alright, so there's that. Yeah, I think the shimmer shades is really what makes it like a different palette, because up until the shimmery parts, they were looking pretty dang similar. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to go off camera really quick and do my eyeliner and mascara and my lipstick, and then we'll come back to finish out the rest of the eyes, because I still need to do the lower. So I'm just going to do the rest of it all off camera, and I'll come back and explain what I did. Alright, seeing this on camera, I realized somebody should have stopped me before I put on black eyeliner. But basically what I did was I took a black kohl liner in the M405 brushes, or whatever the heck they are, and I used those brushes to smudge out the liner, and then I went back in with those brushes. And for the classic side, I just went back in with this shade right here, and I put that on the lower lash line to like kind of smoke it out, drag it out slightly, make it more like nocturnal, because I am a vampire. I realize I'm sitting in front of a window, but well, then I guess I'd be a damp here. Whatever. And then I went in with this shade right here from the Allison palette, and I did the same thing. I put on mascara, lip liner and a liquid lipstick. And that's it. That's all I did off camera. So, my thoughts on the collection, or on this palette thing, I think if you like grays, like gray tinted brown, or brown tinted grays, you will probably like this palette a lot more than you will like the Classic 2. However, I think if you have this palette, you don't need this whatsoever. I don't think you need it at all, because you can get, I mean, look at my eyes. Except for the shimmer shades, they are pretty much exactly the same. And I'd almost be willing to guarantee you that if you have any other palette that is like cool toned, there's probably this light silver shade in there already. So you don't need this palette. I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's necessary. I think this one, I think what happened with the formula, and please realize I'm not a makeup artist. I've never claimed to be. I'm not a makeup chemist. I've also never claimed to be that. I think what happened is that with the darker shades, they had to add like more pigment to them, and so they are more pigmented. To me, they're easier to blend. I think with this one, because this is like a daytime version of the Classic 2 palette, I think because it's a paler pigment, or there's less pigment in there, it comes off a little bit more patchy. It's a little bit harder to blend. It's not as like wow. I think that's what happened with that. So if you don't like doing like dark smoky eyes like this, I think you would probably like this palette. If you like even like the teensiest bit of darkness or smokiness to your look, I would get the Classic 2 palette. It's got more colors in there. It's going to give you like more variations, because this is also like, you can make this a daytime palette, whereas this time I can't talk anymore, Jesus. Sorry. You can make the Classic 2 palette very like day to night. This one is pretty much only day. You're really not going to be able to get more than like one look out of this, except for like swapping out the shimmer shades. So basically, I think the reason the formula is so much harder to use in this particular palette compared to this one is what I'm trying to say. Is I think it's because this one is lighter overall, and so it has like more of a white base. And like I said, I'm not a makeup chemist, but from what I understand, lighter colors are pretty difficult to make and have them be blendable and not patchy, just because they do have a higher white pigment in them than what like this palette does. So I think that's what happened with this palette. I don't know how to explain it. I think that because this one is lighter, the pigmentation is going to be different than, well, obviously the pigmentation is different, but I think the formula changed slightly when they were mixing this up compared to this up, because this one is lighter. Does that make sense? A lot of Kim's palettes don't have very many light shades, or they're not mostly based on light shades. So I think that's what happened, is that this is a lighter palette, and so because it's a lighter palette, it has more white pigment in it, and I think the white pigment is what is making the mattes so hard for me to blend, so difficult to blend. I think it's what's making them patchy. Like I said, I'm not a makeup chemist. I don't know for certain what's going on. That's my thoughts, my opinion on it. Again, if you have the Classic 2 palette, don't buy it. It's not worth it. You have very, 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 very similar colors in your Classic 2 palette compared to the Allison palette. I think if you don't have the Classic 2 palette, you don't like the color story of the Classic 2 palette, or you do like the color story of the Classic 2 palette, but you don't want some of the shades in there, I think this one is probably going to be more your speed. So that's like my thoughts on that. But yeah, let me zoom out a little bit. That's my thoughts on those two palettes like compared to each other. Like I said in my last video involving these palettes, I don't think either one of them is bad. I think the Allison palette is not as good as the Classic 2 palette. And I think today I kind of figured out why that might possibly be. But yeah, so that was today's video, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please do not forget to give it a thumbs up, as I would very much greatly appreciate it. I am trying to hit 200 subscribers, and when that happens, I don't know, I'll do something. I'll probably do a little giveaway or something. But yeah, with that being said, I will see you all in my next video. Bye!